This video is part 2 of our 3 videos on the latter prophets. We're going to be talking in this video about Hosea through Micah. The minor prophets are called the minor prophets because they're shorter than the major prophets. Originally considered one complete collection in the Hebrew Bible, they're just simply called the Book of the 12 because there are 12 minor prophets. As perhaps some connection, some significance to the number 12, like there are 12 tribes of Israel, and 12 is a significant number in Jewish tradition, but at any rate, there are 12 of them, and there's doesn't seem to be any discernible reason for why they are placed in the order that they're placed. But prophets who preach to the northern kingdom of Israel occur right alongside prophets who preach to the southern kingdom of Judah. Some of the later prophets in the collection are in fact later in time, but some others of the prophets don't seem to be where they ought to be in terms of historical progression of the prophetic books. A grouping within the Book of the 12 that some scholars call the Book of the Four are Hosea, Amos, Micah, and Zephaniah. 3 of those are in focus in this video. The Zephaniah will be treated in the next video. But these 4 prophets preach right around the same time. They're involved in the reign of a king called Jeroboam. Scholars call him Jeroboam II because he is the second person to have the name Jeroboam. He's Jeroboam son of Joash rather than Jeroboam son of Nebat. Jeroboam son of Nebat is Jeroboam I. He is the one who was first named Jeroboam. Some connections of these prophets to other parts of the Old Testament. 2 of them in particular, the prophet Micah and the prophet Jonah, are mentioned elsewhere in the Old Testament. Micah is mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 26. The context of this is Jeremiah is on trial for preaching that the Babylonian army is going to destroy Jerusalem. And the defense gives the argument that the king to whom Micah preached did not put him to death during his reign for preaching in the same way that Jeremiah was doing. So there's kind of a legal precedent there that a prophet should not be killed for what he's preaching when he is preaching the true word of the Lord. And Jonah is mentioned in 2 Kings when Jeroboam son of Joash restores some of the land that had been taken away from Israel in various wars. And this restoration was done in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by the prophet Jonah son of Amittai. Jonah's story is interesting because of all of the minor prophets, his book doesn't really describe what his preaching was like. It only gives one 7-word sermon: 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And Jonah initially doesn't want to go to Nineveh. doesn't want to preach to the enemy nation of Assyria. And he's one among many prophets who initially resist God's call, initially resist what God tells him to do. But unlike Moses, who thought he couldn't speak very well, and unlike Jeremiah, who said he was too young to really be a prophet, Moses and Jeremiah both thought that they themselves were not worthy to deliver the word of the Lord. Jonah thinks that the people to whom he is called to go are not worthy to receive the word of the Lord. And when the king, all the way down to even the very animals of Nineveh, repent and turn toward the Lord turns away from the punishment that he had promised for Nineveh, just like Jeremiah said he would do in Jeremiah chapter 18. Jonah is not happy about this at all. He says, "Didn't I tell you that this is what was going to happen? I know that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love." These are ideas that should be good, right? That we appreciate God for being gracious to us, but Jonah wants Nineveh to be destroyed. And one of the possible functions of the book of Jonah is to suggest that maybe the God of Israel has a greater concern than just Israel. Maybe the God of Israel is concerned about all of the nations of the world. Very strong, very striking kind of idea that happens in here. But the minor prophets also talk about how God is concerned for Israel, even in the times when Israel continually rebels against God, continually sins against God. The prophet Hosea is called to go and marry a prostitute, and he sees his wife run off after her other lovers, and God says that you are to take your wife back even after she has been unfaithful to you, for this is how I treat Israel. I always want to have a relationship with Israel. And even when they try to turn away from me, even when they are unfaithful to me, I am still faithful to them. So we hear throughout the minor prophets, we hear the gracefulness of God, the desire of God to still maintain a relationship with God's people, even though again and again and again and again they turn away from Him. The prophets Hosea to Micah have a wide range of interests, wide range of historical contexts, but they all seem to agree on the idea that God is indeed gracious and compassionate, full of steadfast love, always reaching out to God's people, even when God's people try to turn away from Him and break relationship with Him. In the next video, we'll be looking at the rest of the minor prophets and turning towards some of the later parts of the Old Testament.